This is Real Oregon Lifestyle with Andrea Fay and Jen Fiddler, two licensed real estate brokers who share their love of all things Oregon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Oregon Lifestyle. I'm Andrea Fay.
I'm Jen Fiddler.
And today we have a special guest, Jamie E. Lee with Ticor Title. And Jamie, make sure I said your last name right because I tend to want to screw it up.
You did. It was perfect.
Awesome. Jamie is here to tell us her story of how she ended up moving to Oregon. She works for a title company, and that's how we have run into her. And so title companies and real estate kind of go hand in hand. And we can, of course, talk about that a little bit more later. But first off, we just wanted to talk about some of the things that buyers look for when they're looking into moving to Oregon. So Jamie, tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get here?
So my husband was in the Coast Guard in Michigan, and we have always really been interested in the Pacific Northwest in particular, just mountains, coast, more mountains. I mean, there's multiple ranges right here, and then you're close to the other fun states and national parks for a lot of outdoor activities. We love camping and rafting and fishing and all of that. So we've always been drawn to coming to this area in general. So when he got out of the Coast Guard, he was going to use his GI Bill. And so he was looking for really good schools in forestry. And so, of course, OSU was calling his name, and we were like, well, that looks like a great area. So we're looking online on Google, looking at some of the things that might be interesting for our lifestyle and what we like doing. And it seemed like a really good fit.
Nice. Yay. And go Beavers. We're both obviously big Beaver fans. I'm curious about, from the perspective of like moving from a different state and looking at that process, did you come out and actually drive around, or were you just like, nope, we're going here. This is what we're doing?
Well, so we did a lot of preliminary research because of the timeline with him getting out and us kind of needing to decide what we wanted to do. We just did a lot online first, and then we did a 1-week trip to Oregon. So that was the week that we looked for just a rental because we weren't sure where we wanted to move as far as city went. We just knew we needed to be near campus for him. And for us, just finding a rental during that period was kind of the basic reason for our trip. And when we did that, we were able to, it was during the fall festival that they have in downtown Corvallis. So that helped give us an idea of, what the local community was like too. So with all the booths and the food carts and everything downtown, we could really get a feel for what the community was like even outside of campus.
What a great time to come and visit. Fall Festival is one of my favorites. And there's a lot of artists, and you see pottery and all kinds of art and crafts and food vendors. And it's a really big community event. So that probably gave you a really good taste of what Corvallis is all about.
Yeah, it was great to do that. And then, of course, our thing is being able to experience the nightlife too. We came from Michigan, where they have a lot of breweries there. And so we did some of the brew tours and hopping around to Block 15 and McMenamins and Sky High. So that was really fun.
That's awesome. Is there something in particular like that was a big draw for you besides like the hiking and stuff like that? When you were really looking into it, was there a set of criteria for what made you move to Oregon?
Well, so in the community of Corvallis in particular, we were looking for the farmers market. Being able to have the bike-friendly city was something else that was important to us. So for that community too, in particular, the parks that surround there and the forest through the campus, that was all really more local than like the Cascades, where you might go for the weekend, and the coast that you might go for the weekend. But right after work, you can just walk out your back porch and go up Chip Ross or go to the McDonald Fund Done Forest. So for us, it was a really local draw, was being right there. What's this town offer? And that would be our day-to-day. What would our day-to-day look like? Being able to bike downtown or bike to the farmer's market, or, be in close proximity to the things that were our community.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like you did your research the right way too. And we have a lot of people always moving in from out of state. I'm always kind of curious about what people's draw and appeal is to Oregon and stuff, and how they go about doing their research and getting a feel for these towns and stuff. And so it's, we talk to a lot of different people, and some people just totally wing it, which just is so crazy to me. I can't even imagine doing that. Do you have any tips or tricks for anybody moving in from out of state that you would recommend doing or looking at? Any other areas you were considering?
So we were looking in Washington as well. We had talked about Montana as well, but for us, it was the university and the program. So of course, you researched that. But I also looked at the chamber websites for each of the towns. So Albany, Corvallis, Philomath, Lebanon, the close, like Tri-Cities, we were like, well, what's it like? What are all the towns like that we're going to be interacting with? And maybe we'll find better housing prices in one over the other. I mean, we were considering all of that. And when we're looking at each chamber site, I was calling them just to say, hey, what's your community like? What does it look like if I were to be a business person working with your chamber? And then a lot of times too, they would either refer me, or I'd already talked to the Visit Corvallis or whatever the tourism organization was in that town, is another really good resource to be able to say, okay, do you guys have festivals going on? Do you guys have different things that are fun that our community can rally around? And so I was able to talk to not only the chamber, but the tourism bureaus and see what that looked like.
That's a great resource.
Yeah, that's super smart.
And the other thing I do want to mention is just the state tourism website too, because sometimes they give a little bit more overall, like a general idea of what each community looks like, where that community, of course, is their biggest fan. And so when you're going to that only community and looking at their website, it's going to, of course, be so great and so wonderful. And it is, but you can get a better idea general for what you might be looking for too with the state tourism website.
Smart.
That's awesome. So I have a question for you, and I know maybe it won't be the right answer or what I think it is, but do you feel like your expectations were met?
That's so funny. I actually, looking back, I don't think that I had like high expectations. I knew that I wanted to be somewhere where there was a lot of outdoor activity, but you're moving. We're in the East Coast for so long that I was also it was bittersweet to leave and to say, oh my gosh, we're leaving this, going across country. So I don't want to have high expectations to then feel homesick. So as we continue to meet people and, explore and be able to enjoy this community, I think it just continued to build and get better and grow. And we became a part of it versus just trying to jump in and be like outsiders that are in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It took a little time to just grow together with the community.
Do you feel like that has something to do with your community involvement too?
I think so, because in Michigan, there is an organization called Young Professionals, and it's actually a nationwide organization that a lot of towns have their own factions in one way or another. So that week that we visited, we ended up looking for that organization and going on a week that they had a meeting. And that helped because we were able to meet some other people who were transplants or who had moved there, ask similar questions to what you guys are asking me now, to find out how they got involved in the community. And a lot of the people that we met there are people that we now do holidays with because our families are back east. And so we're able to kind of join together in that sub community as people who moved from out of state.
I love it.
That's a really good trick. You know, I feel like I have had people who move here and they don't really reach out or get involved in the community and stuff. And sometimes we'll get a little bit lost. And I think that's a great way to make friends and a great way to kind of build your sphere and your people and continue. Obviously that grows in time with people you work with and you meet friends through that way. But I think that's a really, really good tip and a really smart thing for people to do.
And if you're looking for it, that helps. Like if you know that you want to build a community, then you're going to look for ways that you can build a community and you're going to talk to people that can help you do that. And so that was important to me because I didn't want to be sitting at home the first couple of months like, all my friends are back in the other side of the state, you know, or other side of the US. And I wanted it to be something that, you know, together, since he was away in the military a lot, we could build friendships versus just me kind of going out networking for business. I wanted it to be more of a family unit networking in our new home.
That's very military of you, by the way.
Yeah.
It is. Well, you know, my mom was a military wife, so we totally get that. And you do, I think it's very important to be able to have ties and feel connected. And I think the people that reach out and they make those connections are the ones that feel like Oregon is their home. But it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters what state you move to. You have to connect with people to want to stay.
I agree.
Yeah. So, okay, we know you're big into hiking and the outdoors. Out of all of the places that you've been to in the Northwest, which I know you've been to a lot, you probably have been to more than I have, and I live here and have lived here most of my life. What is your all-time favorite outdoors trip that you've taken?
Oh, goodness. So we love, and I hate, it's kind of this bittersweet. We love the McKenzie River. So we had done a lot of rafting trips down there up until last fall, of course, when a lot of that area ended up getting hit with wildfires. But I always look back at our photos from being able to, like that crystal clear water and having that kind of lazy river experience, because they're not really difficult rapids. I'm not a raft guide, so don't like quote me on that. But we loved it down there, and I'm hoping that maybe things will start to grow back. And I know the river will still be accessible, but that's our favorite spot, really.
It's a beautiful rafting trip. I've done that a couple times and always had a really good time. You know, I've been when it was 80 degrees outside and sunny. I've done it when it was pouring down rain and we all froze to death, but we still had a really good time because it's so pretty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm actually surprised I didn't mention the rain when we were moving here. That's funny you say that about being outdoors.
That is a good question. So how did that make you feel coming from a place that was probably dramatically sunnier?
Well, so it was pretty sunny back home and kind of like the eastern part of Oregon where you get snow in Michigan, but it's still sunny weather. I was like, okay, well, how gray will it be? Is this going to be like you hear about Alaska being difficult during those dark months? I'm like, what are we going to do? But the amount of rain in a day, and just like you were saying, you can still raft, you can still hike, you can still do outdoor stuff. You just are probably going to be wearing a rain jacket. And don't open an umbrella because people think you're weird if you take an umbrella around with you. Just wear your rain jacket and you'll be fine because it's not a downpour or a thunderstorm.
That is true. It's a light mist.
Mm-hmm. Which
your hair might get frizzy.
Right. Which to me, like your day could really be interrupted back home by a big thunderstorm and lightning storm. And you don't really get that here.
Yeah, I lived in Kansas for a few years, and I remember the downpours, and I remember the lightning and thunder, and it was all of a sudden you had a big storm, and it was a downpour, but then it would go away, and then it would be sunny again. It's not like that here. We have probably a good 9 months out of the year is overcast and misty, with some breaks of sunshine, and then summertime we have beautiful summers here.
It's gorgeous.
I have one more question for you. You kind of talked about building a community and stuff. Do you have any other ideas for people? Since we do have so many people moving in from out of state, what would you say would be the biggest thing that, your biggest piece of advice? Like, give it 6 months, or like, what would you say is like your timeline for where you felt like you were involved in the community and you felt like you had that community? And also, again, any other tips or tricks for people to really make it feel like home?
So I think partly because we started off coming out here with the intention of networking and building what we were envisioning our home would look like, it helped speed it up. Because we were having people over like that next week. We move in and we're connecting with them out downtown and stuff like that. And so to go with that, I would say one of my tips is to, be bold about reaching out to people. I think as adults too, sometimes we're like, oh man, making friends is kind of hard. And when you're realizing that a lot of other adults are feeling that way too, then you're maybe not gonna stifle yourself and stifle that social experience. And that will speed up the timeline for becoming a part of the community when you're more open to that and more bold about, hey, do you want to grab drinks? Hey, do you want to come over for dinner? And not feeling like awkward about it.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, that's a good tip.
I totally agree. And honestly, you're right about other people don't feel confident themselves about asking others. So if you're the first one, then they'll probably say yes. Speaking of going and having a cocktail or a beer or something, what's your favorite place to go in Oregon?
Ooh. Oh, I got to kind of think about it. It depends on what I'm looking for because we've become wine people since we've moved here too.
Congratulations.
So we're originally more beer people. And now we actually just a month ago became members at Willamette Valley Vineyards. And I would say that's been my kind of favorite spot to be able to see the views from the patio and have a nice glass of wine in wine country. So that's been really fun.
I 100% agree. And I would definitely meet you up there sometime. I think that would be a blast. And Jen, you could come down from Portland.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love Willamette Valley Vineyards. I actually got married there. So it, of course, holds dear to my heart. But also my favorite Pinot Noir is from Willamette Valley Vineyards. So.
Okay, we definitely have to meet there.
We're doing it. I love it.
It's going to happen. Well, okay. There's another place that I would like to go also, but it's not close. And so we'll have to make a separate trip out of this. But I've been loving going to Carlton, which is also in the heart of wine country. And I found an awesome gluten-free and dairy-free pizza. Best gluten-free pizza crust I've ever had. And it actually doesn't taste like cardboard. It tastes like pizza crust.
Ooh. You need to text that to me after we get off this podcast.
I will. Actually, you can buy the pizza crust from Portland too, because the pizza crusts come from there. And if you wanted to, you could just stock your freezer.
I love it.
We are just about out of time. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about Ticor Title, where you work.
Yeah, well, thank you. So Ticor Title, we have locations throughout the valley. We're the Mid-Valley operation. And if you are ever closing a transaction with either of these ladies, let us know if we can help on the title and escrow side. I work in the sales section, probably because I get out there and I socialize with people. And so I actually don't work on the files themselves. I work as a business partner with realtors and lenders and clients. And then our great team at Ticor would be working with you on closing your transaction with the escrow account and title cleanup and getting you all recorded.
Awesome. And Ticor does a fantastic job. We work with them quite frequently. And so we highly recommend their services to our clients.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. You can find us on realoregonlifestyle.com, at Real Oregon Lifestyle on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also find us on YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.